Greetings, YouTube. Recently, there was a tragedy in New York where two police officers were executed by a black assailant. There's a number of things that are interesting about this case. First of all, most people don't seem to be talking about the fact that the attacker shot three people. The first one, his ex-partner, a woman. That seems to be really below the radar. That he had a history of domestic violence, and the first person he finally chose to shoot when he finally went off the deep end was a woman. So that's interesting. That's getting downplayed everywhere. And then, unfortunately, he went on to execute two police officers in New York. The Baltimore police really did make every effort to find him. It appears that they were just simply behind him. He had gotten on the move faster than they could get the word out to all of the police officers in New York. There are some 22,000 police officers in New York City. So, unfortunately, communication is not instantaneous as much as you may believe otherwise for all the people who are using Twitter. It really does take time occasionally. But one of the disingenuous things I've heard, in fact, I've heard it right here on my channel, is that a disproportionate number of people that kill cops are black. And that's a flat-out lie. And that's a lie. That isn't even moderately inaccurate. It's a lie. The majority of people that kill cops in America are white. In fact, we have pictures of someone during the Bundy protest out west over the ranching rights. A sniper sighted on cops, and yet that person is not under arrest. During the Bundy protest, Fox framed it as the police officers representing the United States government were the bad guys, while in Ferguson, the protesters are being framed as the bad guys, and the cops are being framed as the good guys. There's a difference between the Bundy protest out west and the Ferguson protest, is that in the Bundy protest, the protesters were white, whereas in the Ferguson protest, most of the protesters are black. Don't forget that. Don't for a heartbeat think that this isn't all about race. And if someone tells you that the majority of cop killers are black, that's about race too. They're a racist. They're lying to you. They're trying to frame the conversation in such a way that you will then come to believe that black people are a danger to cops. When we know that cops are far more of a danger to black people. A black person in America today, a black male, is 21 times more likely to be shot than a white male of the same age group. 21 times. Now, I've heard people say that it's a matter of poverty, that socio-economic forces have more to do with this than anything. Well, there are, I think, 12.3% of the Caucasian population is in poverty, while something like 26% of the black population lives in poverty. So you have half as many white people as in poverty as the black people in America. And if that were the case, then you'd see a 2-to-1 ratio, if that were the factor. But it isn't a 2-to-1 ratio. It's a 21-to-1 ratio. So even if you were to cut that ratio in half, it would still be a 10-to-1 ratio. So it isn't socioeconomic factors in play here. We know, studies have been done, that if you show people a picture of someone holding an object, a phone, a wallet, if you show that person holding that object as a black person, and you show images of that same object being held by a white person, more people will view the object being held by a black person as being a firearm. Same object, either a wallet or a phone. The only difference is that the endemic institutionalized racism we have in America has convinced people that blacks are more violent. We know for a fact that people consider black youths, male youths, to be 4 to 5 years older than their actual age. So Tamir Rice was being, when those cops pulled up, they didn't see a 12-year-old. They saw a 17-year-old. Now, something interesting. People have made a big point about the fact that he had a pistol that had the orange tip removed from it, which should have had nothing to do with this case because he never got the pistol out in the open for the cops to see. They pulled up at a dangerously stupid distance and executed him in 2 seconds. So he didn't have time to draw that fake pistol and point it at a cop. But the interesting thing is this. I was at Walmart today. It was the post-Christmas deal portion of the year, and I always am hunting for a bargain. So while wandering up and down the aisles, while checking out knives and flashlights, in that same area are the BB guns and the pellet rifles and such. They sold 4 different models of pistols with no orange tip. These tips had not been removed. They were in sealed bubble wrap containers, sealed plastic containers, shrink wrapped. No one had tampered with these devices. They had been designed to look like actual firearms, and they had no tip. So that whole someone removed the orange tip from the pistol thing is bullshit on 2 levels. 1, Tamir Rice never got that thing out in the open for the cops to see. And 2, you can buy a pellet gun or a BB pistol without an orange tip. So, shut up on that one, folks. Just shelve that one. But remember that in Ohio, John Crawford III, and Tamir Rice were both killed in an open carry state where they could have been carrying actual firearms. Now, I'm going to give you an example here. There was an unnamed white guy with an AR-15 in public, ranting and raving and screaming at people. Cops showed up, talked to him for a while, and left. Now, I say unnamed white guy because they never took his name down. They determined, oh, he's not a danger to the public. And they drove away. Why? White guy with a gun. That's okay. It's an open carry state. No problem. But open carry laws only appear to apply to white folks. Even though a cop is far more likely to be killed by a white person, just as in 75% of all mass shooters are white men. They don't make up the majority of the population. It's only 37% of the population is white males. And yet they make up 75% of the mass shooters. By the logic of social conservatives, Fox News, and the neocons and such, we should just start rounding up all the white guys. But no. We cut them slack. We give them the benefit of the doubt. We let cops de-escalate the situation or make a judgment call about whether this person is or is not a danger to the public. But not with black people. They shoot black women, black children, and black men at the drop of a hat. There's a black woman that is now in prison for firing a warning shot. She did not shoot anyone. But she's in prison for firing a warning shot. John Holmes. Was it John Holmes? I think it was John Holmes. He killed 12 people at a movie theater and wounded 58 others. And yet somehow, the cops were able to arrest him without shooting him. Amazing. But they can't arrest a guy who had no weapon without shooting him. They can't arrest a guy in the streets who is guilty of a misdemeanor tax evasion charge without choking him to death. We have a problem in America, and we're not addressing it. And the horrifying thing is that there will be some people who will listen to this because I'm white. It's great that you're listening to me today. Thank you. Now go listen to a black person. Go listen to the black community right now. Go find some videos on YouTube. Go listen to news pieces. Go read news articles. Go look at some Tumblrs. Black Americans are talking. Are you listening? Because we haven't been. And it's high time that we did.